Today we're looking at something that most people pass by. It's something that's usually dirty, dingy, and most people won't assume carries any value. Hey, it's Don. Today we're going to look at something unique, something I do nab up quite often whenever I see them. The biggest place for me to find these sorts of things are in a dirty garage, a dirty barn, an old basement, places like that. Old factory buildings, buildings downtown that are being cleared out. Now, these are made to carry something. This is actually a wooden crate, and it's an early wooden crate. Now, this one's from Canada. This was found in an old junky barn. Doesn't look like much. It is well marked, though, as you can see. Something like this does not show up very often. Many people, even when they do see it, don't assume it carries much value. Now, I've had to clean this a little bit here. It had some caked on dirt with a light brush and some very careful time. I have managed to clean this up into a very nice looking piece of history. These were made to be discarded or sometimes used over. They yanked off the wooden lid. It had a wooden piece going over this that was nailed on, and this is how they shipped pretty much anything. Many times as well, they had straw, things like straw stuffed in here as well, or cotton wadding, sometimes if it's early enough. Now we're going to look at some of these sorts of boxes, crates, just old wooden junk. Now, when I usually find stuff like this, somebody has just stuck other things in it, and they're just using this to carry stuff around. They're assuming the value is in the items that have been placed in these. Now, we're not just talking about soda shop. Any early crate like this can go for some really good money. There are some really good places to find them. They do show up. Again, old barns are one of my favorites for these. Old workshops. People would put tools in these. They wouldn't discard them. Now, this is the top end of this area for these types of items. This might get me $400 or $500. Very, very scarce, again, because these were never meant to be saved. The item that was used in here is a one-off thing. You pour it into something. It's not a home unit. This was only for main, like, distributors, restaurants, and things like that. Let's look at some other ones to give you an idea on what is out there. Now, I picked a wide variety of these to show you, and I'm not showing them in any specific value order or anything else like that. I just want to give you an idea on what types of these are out there. This is for Christmas lights. They were all in wooden boxes. Everything at a certain point came in a wooden box, a wooden crate. Everything. It's typical what you'll find. I've even seen groceries like cases and boxes sent out in wooden boxes also. So something to look for. It's just the box, but it has nice artwork on it. People want advertising display items as well, and the boxes are one of the hardest things to find. This is just an excellent example of these sorts of items. 1920s, 1930s, almost $300. Now here's a crate for a butter churn. Anything you can think of, chances are, was shipped in a crate. Anything big, anything breakable. This was the way that they protected stuff during shipment. Square boxes for pretty much everything you can imagine. This one went for several $100s as well. Not in super condition. Again, it's just a box. Now, a lot of times the markings may only be in one single spot on the box. The box may not be facing that way to you. You may be looking at a plain wooden box and just blow it off and don't think anything of it. It may have records in it. It may have tons of old dirty books in it. It may have cans of oil in it. It doesn't really matter. It's the box that many times is worth far more than what is in it. Now, clams and oysters are a huge market for pretty much anything, and I've shown those. I've got other videos just talking about oyster tins and oyster advertisements, as well as little neck clams. This is a wooden crate. These would have been iced down. These would have sat in a refrigerated, whether it's with blocks of ice or whether it was actually electric refrigerated. These would sit in with the food. This one sold for several $100s as well. Most of these sell for hundreds of dollars across the board. Even when they've repainted them like this. Somebody has flipped it around, repainted it, and then scratched what it is. Some people did keep these around to use them for storage devices, for carrying things around too. So that's why some have still survived. Now here's one that shows up around here quite often. Family members of mine personally worked at several different Borden's facilities around here. They delivered milk to establishments and things like that as well. They were sent out in wooden boxes at one point, so it was easy and convenient. Again, these were made to be refrigerated as well, so you could have found these in refrigerated units also. Hundreds of dollars, every one. Again, milk products, dairies in general, do carry a value for most of these things, as long as they are well marked, like this piece here. Now, here's a nice box from the Stanley Works in New Britain. This is basically hardware. It could be door hinges and things along that line. This is probably how the mass was bulk shipped to a hardware store, and then from there, they would take them out, set them out on the shelf, and the whole works. This would have sat in their back stock. Labels on the side tell them what's in it. This, again, was what was used in the 20s and before for everything. Hundreds of dollars, again, for all of these sorts of things. Now, here's a pretty early one. This one might date to the 1890s, 1910 era, and this is for biscuits. Again, anything. Food products especially were crated in wood. It was harder for animals and things to get into them when they were in a wood crate like this also. Some cases like this one here, they were used as display boxes to be put out in the store. That's why you see graphics on the inside of the lid. It would be opened up like this. You could just grab as a guest, a customer, to the store and walk off. When this was empty, then they would discard it or send it back if it was still in usable condition. Now here's another early one. 20s or before. This could date back to the 1890s possibly. Lennox soap has been around for quite some time. Now we've seen many soap crates like this. They do show up, but again, they all go for some pretty decent money. Several $100, pretty much every one I am showing you. Any one that has advertisements other than, say, a 6-pack carrier with handles can go for this type of money. Again, most of the time it's only printed on one side of the crate. Now here's one from BPS Paints. It would have carried cans of paint. It's got some other information on here, but this is typically, again, what you will find. They don't want a can of paint smashed in transportation, and this one went for over $400. Some of these crates can go for $1,000, $2,000, even $3,000 if you find the right one by the right manufacturer. Now here's a real nice example for a Christmas ornament. It looks like it's literally one single Christmas ornament, $411. Box, again, doesn't even have to be in great condition. Sometimes just the lid or just the side panel with the advertisements on it can sell for a couple $100. Now here's one for Dietz lanterns. They made railroad lanterns, transportation ones, some for cars, automotive. They go back quite a ways. Now some boxes like this could have been made for one single lantern, or it would have been a case shipment where there may be 4 or 6 lanterns that a store would take out and sell individually. Over $400 for this one here. Now oysters, as I said, are usually the top of the line in cans, boxes, crates, or anything like that with these sorts of things. Now this would have held tins of oysters, and a label off of one of the tins of oysters that would have been in this case, this crate here, could sell for a couple $1,000 if you find the right one. So anything tied to that industry like this here goes for some big bucks. Oyster Bay, Washington. It's a well-known area. This stuff is hot right now. Now this person is selling wooden banana boxes. This would hold bananas in them, going to a grocery store. Nowadays they're in those big cardboard thick boxes, really thick, sturdy ones. This person sold 9 of them. Believe it or not, there's actually old grocery stores that have been untouched for 40 and 50 years. We've been lucky enough to run on some of these, so this type of thing does show up. Now here's one for ball mason jars, a typical example. Nowadays, again, they come in a big cardboard box. Back then, it would have had the same amounts in a wooden box. That's how they were shipped. It was almost impossible to slam into the side of one of these and break one of the bottles inside. They usually sell for pretty decent money. This is more common because everybody back in the day who canned would have bought them this way. So there were a lot of them out there. Most people didn't just buy one canning jar. They usually bought a whole case of them. So I find these in barns and sheds and basements quite often. Not usually in this nice of a condition. Many times they may be molded, stained, or something like that. Or worse yet, many times people will paint over them to reuse them for another purpose. Here's a case for Scotch whiskey. This is a Moorhead & Sons Scotch whiskey case. It would have held multiple bottles, just like you get from this grocery store these days in the cardboard boxes. These are more common, again, because people would buy these for restaurants and hotels and all sorts of things. Somebody who really drank may have done the same thing. Just like they do now when they have cardboard boxes and you buy a big order, they may have let somebody take one of these crates home with a bunch of other different types of bottles in it. So it's not uncommon to run into some of these. That's why the value is where you see it. Now, oyster one or food and some of those other ones were only made to go to a very few specific types of places. So there weren't as many of those available or made in general. Now, even electronics and office material would have been sent in a wooden box. This is for a Smith Corona typewriter. So even typewriters were sent off in wooden crates. Telephones, all that sort of thing were shipped like this. A refrigerator would have chances are been shipped in a big wooden crate also. Now this last one here is something that even those who know about crates may miss. This is for produce. This is something I usually will find with records in it. LPs, 78s, because of the size of this. They're pretty sturdy. They're made to handle like 50 pounds of fruit. You can grab them from many different areas. Usually it just has one single section where it says Henry Orchard or something on the side like that. These are out there. But again, these are something that I see missed all the time because they resemble newer ones, like the crates you can still get to hold records and things like that. So this is another one of those that usually is missed. Most people assume that it has to have the flat paneled sides, but that is not the case. Produce was made like this so it could breathe, so it wouldn't mold or rot on the bottom. Air could circulate and the whole works. These are hot items. These are hotter than some of the other items just because, again, most people assume they don't carry a value or just walk right by these, not realizing it's an advertising piece. These as well go way back. I've seen trade cards from the 1870s and 80s advertising produce in these exact same things. So another hot item, as you can see here. Well, there we have it. Hopefully that gave you some ideas, some thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button down below. You can also hit the bell icon to be notified if I post new content or go live. Subscribe and tell all your friends.
Super GoBots, the mightiest GoBots of all. Stax, Leader 1, and Psykill sold separately.
Think you're big enough for the king of the road? Try me.
Mighty robots, mighty vehicles, robots.
Too big, Stax. Not so fast, Psycho. Thanks, good buddy.
Super GoBots, Stax, Leader 1, and Psykill each sold separately from Tonka.